So now we're going to take a look at Ben Hogan. This is a swing from 1947, and it's one of the few swings of Hogan that's properly angled directly behind his hands and is from a stationary camera. So if the camera's moving around, you can't draw these lines and have them mean anything. So if we watch Hogan's swing, as we get to the top, take a look at the head movement, and then take a look at the lower body movement. You'll see that his butt is even further back than Tiger's. His head is lower just about the same amount. Got a little more leg movement. Tiger's hips didn't move quite as much, so Tiger's knees won't separate as much as Hogan's. But you'll also see that Hogan's legs are fairly symmetrical in the amount that they move. The left is a little more forward. Now, here we go into the forward swing. And look at here, what do we got? We've got another lowering. Mr. Hogan was a lot shorter than Tiger, but you can see that he is lowered significantly. Their address positions are somewhat similar, even though Tiger's a lot taller than Hogan. If you look at the back angle, Hogan's hitting a longer club here and stood a little bit more erect, but definitely the lowering in the backswing, the lowering in the forward swing. Now Hogan liked to cut the ball, his hands are lower through the ball. You won't see as much head elevation as he hits it, but right afterward there's the upward movement. And then when we look at the same rectangular box for the hips, where does he finish? Right back in the box. Now, if we look at what the advantage of this is, if we draw a few plane lines here, here's a midpoint plane line, here's the top of the swing. So at address, if we draw a circle around Hogan's hands, we can see that in the forward swing, one of the things that he did better than most anybody was to return his hands directly into his shaft plane position. Here's Tiger's circle. Now with the lowering, he comes down, you can see he's very close to the same thing. If we look at a similarity in the finish, it's pretty uncanny how similar the two look at the end of their swings. So, down and down. Now what's happening here, what I believe is happening, is that both players are compressing themselves into the ground in the backswing, even more so to push off into the forward swing, which allows them to strike with a squeezing of the glute muscles and an upward movement into the ball, giving them a tremendous amount of force. Now, if we look at both players from a different angle, so we'll take a look at Hogan from the front, and then we'll look at Tiger from the same front angle. Now both of these are not quite dead on, but we can draw a few lines. And again, you can see what the similarities are in these swings, since both cameras are stationary here. So if we go to Tiger first, once again, the lowering. And as he goes back, you can see that the right hip is getting deeper. And now the move into the forward swing. From this angle, it becomes obvious that the push is from the ground forward and back. So remember what we saw from the other side. So as Tiger reaches this low point in this height, there it is. His hip is now well forward. And when he goes through the ball, you can see his legs straighten and extend as he hits down into the ball and comes up. So again, compressing into the ground as he goes back, again on the forward swing, with the hips moving well forward, and we saw them back and rotated, and then springing up into the ball. So let's see if Hogan does the same type of thing. Again, we see the downward movement, we see the downward movement again, we see more forward movement in Hogan, we see more forward hip movement. But again, quite similar in that they'll both finish right up against that point of left that the left hip got to with the belt buckle at the end of the swing. There we go. Very similar stuff.